Periscope. Hey, you guys. Welcome, everybody, to McKellar Motivational Monday. Today, we are going to talk about Laurel and Yanny, because even though everybody else is moving on with their lives, we all heard this one recording that sounded like two distinct things, depending on who you are, and depending on what time of day it was, it seems like. I haven't forgotten about it, and I'm not letting it go, and I think there's a real lesson to be learned in it. I really do. First of all, my name is Danica McKellar. I'm an actress, a math book author, and homeschooling mom. Many other things. You can find me on Hallmark Channel quite often. I'm about to go do another movie. I leave very soon. I leave in less than a week to make my next Hallmark Channel romantic comedy. They're so fun to work on, you guys. I'm so grateful. And I'm working on a math book right now. And I've got 2 books coming out this June. But right now, hey, Mom. Sweep the leg. What does that mean? I want to talk about Laurel and Yanny. Okay, first of all, how many of you guys heard the recording of Laurel and Yanny, or Laurel or Yanny? And I posted about it on Instagram. How many of you guys heard it? And if you did, so give me a thumbs up if you heard it, and then tell me if you heard Laurel or if you heard Yanny. I just want to take a quick poll. I took a poll before on Instagram too. So what did you hear? Did you hear Laurel or did you hear Yanny? Laurel on your phone and Yanny on your laptop. Interesting. Yanny, Laurel. Okay, Laurel. Periscope was always the fastest. You heard Bob? Interesting. Very interesting. We should look into that. Yes. Yanny. I heard Laurel very distinctly. And then later that day, same phone, same recording, I heard Yanny. Clear as day. And then I started hearing Yammy. It was really weird. But the point is, it was the same recording, and I heard 2 different things. You heard Laurel? It says Laurel, Michael? Yeah, you're sure that it says Laurel. I was sure that it said Laurel. I was sure. Try listening to it again, by the way, because I listened to it later on, and I heard Yanny. And, you know, they say that some of it has to do with interpretation and what your brain is expecting. Some of it has to do with, one thing I read was that if you are a younger person, that you'll tend to hear Yanny more often, but I did not experience it that way. In fact, later in the day when I was a little bit older, I heard Yanny when I'd heard Laurel before. You heard both of them. You heard Laurel in the foreground and Yanny in the background, Jerry. Jerry, are you like into music or some other sort of auditory job? That's crazy. So here's what I think. I think that there's a real lesson here to be learned about our listening to other people and what we hear and what we expect to hear and what's actually being said. Now, what was actually being said on that recording, as far as I understand it, was Laurel. He originally said Laurel. But then over time, as the recording got older and there were copies of it and there was noise introduced, somehow it sounded like Yanny to a bunch of school kids, in fact. And that's how they started realizing, wait a minute, what's going on with this? And then it became a thing. But it tells me that when we're having a conversation with somebody and we're sure we know what they mean, and then later on it turns out that there was a big misunderstanding in terms of their intent. Maybe we thought they were judging us and they really weren't. Maybe we thought that they meant one thing and they really meant something else. The fact that we can actually hear different words being said, to me, says there's a good chance, a really good chance, that we are misinterpreting people more often than we realize, like a lot more often than we realize. So what that tells me too is that instead of jumping to conclusions, if we're not 100% sure of what the person said, we should really ask for clarification. Like, now, in the case of Laurel versus Yanny, I guess we would just be hearing Laurel or Yanny again. But in the case of talking with live people and not a recording, doesn't it make sense, right? Doesn't it make sense that we might be hearing things incorrectly way more often than we realize? I've heard an expression that about projecting. So they say, oh, well, you're projecting your own feelings or your own biases onto what somebody else is saying. That might be part of what's going on in the Laurel versus Yanny, and that might be what's going on for us as human beings. That we really are. Our brains interpret what we hear, just the way they interpret what we see. Our brains are so involved in our interpretation of our senses. And because of that, doesn't it just like hit you that, oh my gosh, our brains are interpreting things? We think we're having a conversation with somebody, but we're really not. they're saying things, then our brains are interpreting it, and then we're getting the input. So I think we should keep that in mind, right? First of all, how many of you guys, all you heard was Yanny? You ask for clarification on a daily basis. Puts a whole new meaning to putting words into someone's mouth. Yes, right? Thank you, Carmelo. You saw me on Impractical Jokers 30 minutes ago. So how many of you guys agree with me? How many of you guys are like, oh my gosh, right. I heard Laurel, so-and-so heard Yanny. We were absolutely sure. So maybe we can take that lesson into our lives and it can improve our relationships. Because on McKellar Motivational Monday, we don't just do exercise. We do stuff about the world and the way we act and behave and how we can improve ourselves and have a better week and have a better life. It's about being motivated to be better people, physically, mentally, emotionally. And this one, to me, really, really hit me as a way that we can improve emotionally in our relationships. It's a lesson to be learned. It's all well and good to have somebody say, well, you were hearing one thing, but they probably meant that. Laurel versus Yanny doesn't lie. We're hearing the same thing, and our brains are interpreting it in different ways. You're Googling at the moment, Tony, so you hadn't heard the Laurel versus Yanny thing. You try to listen to others except when it's negative, right? I mean, you only heard Yanny, but isn't it amazing how many people are absolutely sure that it's Laurel or absolutely sure that it's Yanny? Maybe I'm the only one who thinks this is fascinating, but I really do. What about the pineapple? I know. Right, Jojo? Thank you. I think so too. I was wearing a bathing suit. I wasn't 2 weeks ago. I was thinking it was a week ago, wasn't it? Laurel and Yanny started from your city, Flowery Branch, Georgia. Very cool. What did I hear, Jimmy? I heard Laurel. I heard Laurel clear as day, and then I heard Yanny later that day. The art of listening. Yes, the art of listening. And we can only control so much of us. We can listen and sit down and listen, but in terms of our interpretation, we have to be careful. We might think we're listening. Your brain said no. Thanks, Jeff. Karen, gosh, I put it in my Insta stories. Just type in Yanny and Laurel into your Google browser and you can find this thing. It's crazy. Yeah, it's really weird, you guys. And so if you have yet to hear the Laurel versus Yanny thing, then what I recommend you do is find it online, but don't listen to it by yourself. Listen to it with a few other people if you can, and ask them what they heard. And chances are, especially if you have 3 or 4 people in a group, there will be different opinions, and you guys will be like, no, that's what it's saying. We think it's objective. That's my point. We think it's objective, but it isn't. It's actually way more subjective. Hearing and interpreting what people say is way more subjective than we realize. So that is the, you heard Yanny until you concentrated on the lower frequency, Lisa. That's interesting. You heard Laurel and your wife heard Yanny. Right, that's the thing. People who are close, they just hear different things. You didn't get either, Stephen? So yeah, some people heard like yummy or yari or really. My son first heard really and he goes, oh wait, no, I guess it's Yanny. And I was still hearing Laurel, like 100%. Isn't that crazy? Thank you, Rick. Nancy, you say, I'm sorry, I know that was random. I don't think I saw your other one, Nancy. Sorry. I've got 3 devices. We're on Periscope, Facebook, and Instagram all at the same time. That's true, Trucker Ken. We don't know what the other person is going through. Yes. It's Yanny. How could anyone hear Laurel? Right? That's how it is. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I hope you take this and just remember about this thing where we interpret things and we might not always be as right as we think we are. So have a wonderful week. You're in Gary Chandling. The Fred Savage. Is that the real Fred Savage? If so, hi. Yeah, every Monday I do McKellar Motivational Mondays, and I'm in my car right now because, you guys, sometimes it's hard to fit it in, but I want to anyway. So I'm just at the end of it. Thank you so much for joining me. And both are embedded. Laurel's at the lower frequency, and then Yanny's at the higher frequency. I've heard something like that as well. But I'm telling you guys, I heard Laurel at first, and then I heard Yanny. I mean, clear as day. At different times of the day, I should say. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, everyone. All right, well, thanks so much for joining me, and have a wonderful rest of your week. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Next Monday, I will actually be on set of my next Hallmark Channel movie, so I'll be trying to do it from there, or I might do it from, like, in the car on the way back. I have not figured that out yet, because I don't know what the schedule is. But I hope to see you then. All right, bye.